on this computer, right? Recording in progress. All right, so here we go. So it's gonna ding for a couple of seconds here, so I'll get distracted every now and then, but I will try and jump on. Looks like we got everybody going. A couple of people are getting stuck. They're having a hard time getting in, but we're at 100. Let's see if we can get 101. If we can get 101, we're okay. Come on. Because I think my account's set up to take like 500, but let's find out. This could be 101, and then I'll be able to relax and move on. We're at 100. Press record. Got you. Maximum participants. All right. Dadgummit. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can change this thing over. Just a second. I put in for more, but we may be stuck here. We're not going to be stuck here. The people who didn't get in. Sorry. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to move on. Get started, go ahead and do our thing, and then I'll just share it with everybody. I'm looking to see if I can get one more thing as far as just adding new participants. Shoot. Oops, that's not what I wanted to have happen. But anyway, everybody that was in here before, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm getting the, give me 1 second. All right, so everybody that jumped on before 7 o'clock got in. That's not what I had in mind, but that's kind of where we are now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. Like I said, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things here. As soon as I can figure out where my screen sharing thing is again in the world. All right, we're recording. Goodness gracious. All right, so let's see here. Am I missing something? Share screen. There we are. Sorry, I'm losing my mind there. All right, we'll jump in here. We're going to start this. I know everybody loves a PowerPoint. It's terrible, but we're going to knock it out. So this is a few years ago, about maybe 15 years ago. We were down at a tournament called Gasparilla in Tampa, St. Pete area. And I had a father accost me after a match, just saying what a lousy job the coach was doing and how his daughter was the best kid on the team, and she probably was, but that she wasn't getting to play front row, and that's what she was really good at. And if she had played front row, she would have won. So after speaking to him for about 10 minutes, I realized that he just didn't understand the rules of volleyball and the way substitutions work. And so he was asking for something that wasn't possible. And so we kind of had a conversation. It's like, hey, we really need to do a thing for new parents and for people who, like myself, played PE volleyball where it was 19 or 9 versus 9 or 19 versus 19 or however many kids were in class, and you could touch the ball 47 times before you sent it over. And that was kind of all the volleyball knowledge that we had. My wife played Division I soccer. And when I watched my 10-year-old play soccer, I'm like, I had no idea what's going on. I know kick the ball in the net, but that's about as much as I know. So we kind of wanted to run this little class just to go over a little bit of, so that you guys have a little bit more knowledge and kind of as a precursor to some of the things you're going to see that are probably going to upset you during the year, or you're going to say to me, why in the world didn't you tell me that in advance? And so now I'm telling you that in advance. So you guys are here. There will be a good bit of information here. But as I said at the very, very beginning, I am not going to cover everything because there's too much to cover, but I'll cover the stuff that I keep getting asked every year. And so if I leave out something that you want to know, now's the time to ask, because it's the same old thing. If you want to know, somebody else wants to know. And so we'll make sure we get it covered. So anyway, so we'll get started here. Why is it not letting me play the next slide? Yeah. Why is it not letting me play? All right. So how we play the game. First of all, it's not a game. It's called a set. And so you'll need the lingo to be correct. We play best 2 sets out of 3 in a match. And so the first 2 sets are to 25 points, win by 2. The third set, if necessary, is to 15, win by 2. And so you'll go to some tournaments, some of the lower level tournaments, some of the tournaments that we run even, we only play 2 sets in pool play, and we'll talk about pool play and bracket play in a minute. So we only play 2 sets in pool play, and then we get to bracket play where you actually have to have a full-fledged winner and a loser. Well, then we go 2 out of 3. And so in that, in that grouping, sometimes we also start at 4-4 is the score. So sometimes you may look over the score and like, we've played one ball, how is it 5-4? In the interest of time, and as much as it might frustrate me as an athlete, as a coach, a director, and a parent, I love matches that start at 4-4 when we're not talking about something like a national championship match, because it gets you out of the gym faster. So you guys get in, your kid gets to play, they play 4 less points on each side, but at the end of the day, it gets you out of the gym somewhere hour and a half sooner. So we don't really fuss about tournaments that start at 4-4 unless they are large events, and it just rarely happens that way. So anyway, so the basics of the game are this: you want to keep the ball off the floor on your side and put the ball on the floor on the other side. And in doing so, you only get 3 touches on each side. And we typically work towards a pass as our first contact, then a set as our second contact, and a hit as our third contact. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you don't want to say because you don't want to look like you don't know what you're talking about. We'll talk about that at the very, very end. Like, it's not a bump and it's not a spike. And we don't want to talk about those things right now, but we will. We'll get there. So anyway, so on our team, and this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing for parents. Most of us play PE in, middle school, high school, whatever. You play PE, so you understand the basic concept of it. But one of the things that we do that's a little bit differently by the time we get to club volleyball is that we start to specify positions. So even at the 10s, we will specify positions. We just have everybody play each of those positions. So we don't typically make a setter and two outside hitters and 2 middles, where everybody's an outside hitter and everybody's a middle and everybody's a setter. But there are positions in volleyball, just like any other sport. So the positions are: there's a setter, there are 2 outside or left side hitters, there are 2 middle blockers, there are 2 right side or opposite hitters, and then there are 2 defensive specialists or 3 defensive specialists. And let's go ahead and clarify right now. That word is libero. It is not libero, it is libero. And it's an Italian word, meaning something like defense or defensive or something like that. It's not the Spanish word libero. It is libero, but people are going to look at you funny when you say it correctly, but it is one of the things. So anyway, and so we talk about defensive specialists. On each team, there are usually 2 or 3 defensive specialists, and the better of them is typically the libero. So when we talk in-house, we talk about kids being defensive specialists. Your kid's going to get in the car and talk about herself as being the libero. They're kind of one and the same, especially at the younger ages, and especially before you start to play really high level ball. They are kind of the same. So anyway, some of the things that you're going to need to know, and again, I'm not going to cover everything. So if I say something that doesn't make sense, or if I leave off something, I really start to move on, just kind of interrupt me. But so here we go. So slide number 2. So we have what are called rotations, and in each rotation, there's a set order for how people are supposed to be. So in this one right up here where it says rotation 1, on this team, number 1 is our first server, and then 2, 3, and 4 are our front row players, and then 5 and 6 are the back row players with number 1. And so that's our first rotation. And so just for the sake of this, I just numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just because it's easier to refer to them. So this is our service order. So number 1 is our first server. If you look where it says rotation 2 right there in the middle of the page, that's when we rotate to number 2 is our second server. In rotation 3, number 3 is our third server. And then 4, 5, 6, same thing. So when we serve the ball, they have to be in this order. So when you're watching the game, and I'm going to go ahead to the next screen, even though it's not necessarily where we want to be. When you're watching the game, sometimes they look like that at the beginning. You're like, what in the heck is that? What does it look like? If I were to number these kids, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by position, over here, you would see that this is number 1. Can y'all see my mouse? Mm-hmm. This is number 1. You can't see me. Okay, great. So not technically, based on this screen, this is number 1. This is number 6, and this is number 5. So this is my back row. These are my back row kids, 1, 6, 5. They're right here. They're these 3 players. This is number 2. So this girl right here is going to come back over to here to pass. Oh, I got something in the chat here. Please, not so fast. God, I will slow down and we'll repeat anything you need for me to repeat. Okay, so let's go back to, all right, so this is number 2. this is number 3, and this is number 4. And so we've got, if we're looking at our service order, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are technically in this same order. And so when we play volleyball and we serve the ball, we have to be, if we're in rotation 1, we have to be in that order on the floor. If we're in rotation 2, we have to be in that order on the floor, and it would look like, this. And then rotation 3 would look like this. So you don't need to know this. You don't need to know what this stuff means. You don't need to have anything to do with it. In fact, your kids don't even need to know this. They'll learn what it means, and there's some right angles, and we talk about some things that they don't need to know. But this is just so you understand that when they go back and they look funny, and you're like, why is that kid in the front row in the back row, and that kid in the back row is pushed over there, and it looks like you're out of order and everything's wrong. It's not necessarily the case. So we have to be in this order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each of these rotations, we have to be in this order. And so they're going to look like this. This is rotation 1, rotation 2, and rotation 3. You don't need to know this again, but rotation 1 and rotation 4 are the same thing. Rotation 2 and rotation 5 are the same thing. Rotation 3 and rotation 6 are the same thing to an extent. And so at the beginning of the game, we have to push people around. So when we're serving, we have to be in a certain order. And when we are receiving, we have to be in a certain order. And so when the bad guys are serving us, we have to be in a certain order. So you will notice that we look kind of like this screen every time they're serving at us. And then we're running all around trying to go to our right spot. So I always get asked the question, it's like, why not just make it simple and the 3 kids in the back row pass and just leave it alone? A couple of reasons for that. Sometimes the 3 kids in the back row can't pass. And I got a kid standing in the front corner that can really, really pass. And why in the world would I leave her in the front corner? That's like having Shaquille O'Neal be your 3-point shooter. No, dude can't shoot 3-point. Put him under the hoop, and he's going to score points for you. Put him out there, he's not going to do anything for you. Kids are the same way. I've got kids that can pass, I got kids that can hit, I got kids that can set, kids that can defend. And so we want to put them in the position to do the best that they can at what they do. And so we start to have them play specific positions, and they learn what the roles of those positions are. So that's why, rather than just rotating, because I know some of you guys have maybe played at the rec department where you rotate right front sets, right back serves, they just rotate in from the side and they rotate around. So we start to do it where the kids that set better are my setters. The kids that hit better are my hitters. The kids that pass and defend better are my defenders. But then within the rules of the game, they have to be in this order. So that's why it's all jumbled around. And if you ever watch, I coach 12s by design. It's what I enjoy doing the most. But if you watch my 12s play, I'll be in a certain order. And in the middle of the play, if that other guy or that other team serves a couple of points at us, you'll see me take rotation 1, and all of a sudden it won't look anything like that. I'll start moving kids around and sliding kids up and pushing back and all that kind of stuff. They still have to be in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, though. But you'll see them absolutely move, and your coaches will do the same thing. So anyway, when you're looking at them and they look all out of whack, that's why they have to be in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rotation 1, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 if they're in rotation 2. So I hope that made a little bit of sense to you as far as when you start to watch them play and they're all over the place. That's why. The other thing is that we want to put the kids in the spot where they do best. On my 12s, I have a couple of kids who hit better on the right side than they do on the left side. So I'm going to move them around in the middle of the game to get them on the right side. And I've got kids who hit better on the left side than they do on the right side. I'm going to move them around to get them on the left side. So it's all a strategy. And the older we get, the more this stuff starts to specialize and the more they start to do certain things. Does that all make sense? Anybody got a question about that? I do have the chat up. So if you guys have a question, you can pop it up in the chat and I will look at it without you having to speak up. But so there is that. So in the game, what is a pin? Oh, I did call it a pin. The antennas on the net are called pins, only by the cool people. So that's when we get later, we talk about don't call it a bump, don't call it a spike. The antenna is called a pin. And so a pin hitter is one of the front row hitters that's on the outside by the antennas. Thank you for smacking me for that one. So I did get a little carried away there. And so we're going to, in the course of the game, how do you determine which rotation you use? That's a great question. All right. So depending on the makeup of your team, you're going to start in a certain rotation. Now, I will tell you, as a club, we all have rotation 1 as our setter and right back. Now, I may choose to start in rotation 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. But rotation one is rotation one. And then I'm going to look and see what personnel I have and what they do well. And I'm going to start them that way. And that's going to determine my lineup. If, for instance, I only had one middle hitter, I would make sure to start that middle hitter. If I had an outside hitter who was trying to be a middle blocker just because we only had one middle blocker on the team, I would make sure that outside hitter, that the middle blocker was left front first. And so she was in 3 rotations in a row, actually playing the correct position before that other kid came in to play a position that's not normally her position. So there are a lot of reasons at 12s where I coach. It's usually based on my best servers. I want to make sure that my first 2 or 3 servers are 2 or 3 of my absolute best servers. And so I'm going to adjust my lineup to make that work. The lower the age, the more important it is that your servers be in the right order. The older it is, the important, serve and serve receive is still super important. But now being able to pass and terminate also carries on a lot more importance. Okay. So when watching Saturday, I noticed not everyone served. What are the rules and strategy for who has to serve and substitutions? Okay. So that's a great question. It's a good time. All right. So what we're going to do is each team is going to do it based on a certain criteria. My 12s, I have a mandate that everybody has to be able to serve the ball overhand over the net before I'm ever going to let them step back and serve. So if you can't, this year I'm blessed. Every single one of my kids can serve. In the past, that's not been the case. And so literally, if you can't serve the ball over the net, I'm not going to let you serve. There's no reason to put you back there for instant failure and you feel badly and it's a giveaway point and you're not happy, the kid's not happy. So we don't do it. So at the higher levels, it's by position. And it is by quality of the serve. So if I got a kid back there that can score aces and play defense better than your big kid that can hit the ball but can't play defense, then I'm going to let him serve. So it's strategy. It's a chess match. It's if you're any other sport, it's like having 2 tight ends in the game instead of a wide receiver, or it's like having an extra shooting guard on the floor instead of a power forward, whatever. It's a manipulation of your personnel. So why did the set this weekend go beyond 25 points? Because we played to time. Those weren't real matches. Everybody played to 25. Once they got to 25, you either started back over at 0 or you just kept going until time was up. So those were scrimmage matches, not official matches. We didn't do substitutions, weren't wearing jerseys, all that kind of stuff. So good question. Anything else about gameplay that you guys want to know specifically at this point? The rest of it's kind of simple. It's kind of like kick the soccer ball into the goal. Now I'm going to go over what referee calls are and what all that kind of stuff means in just a second. So I'll go over why the game goes certain ways. But as far as the actual game is concerned, that's serve and serve receive, and that's kind of the hardest part for parents normally to grasp in the beginning. All right, so let's move on, and you guys can throw questions up in the chat if you want. So here are a couple of things as far as the way the game is played. You'll see kids run up inside it's the 3-meter line or the 10-foot line, depending on who you speak with, but you'll see kids run up inside the 10-foot line. That's where you have to go to make a sub. You'll see some old school coaches going sub. They're doing this. It doesn't matter until that kid steps in front of the white line. There's no substitution happening. If the big if the up ref referees to serve, then that kid's not going in the game at that moment. So you'll see that all substitutions have to happen in front of the 10-foot line. Here's one of the biggest things, and this is where that dad got mad at me. When you play, you can only play in one position in a rotation. So if we go back to here, if I'm number 19, and so number 1 is our setter, and number 1 is going to play rotation 1, 2, and 3. And when she gets to rotation 3, when she goes to rotation 4, number 1 goes front row. She's small. So me, number 19, big number 19, I'm going to come in and I'm going to play for her in rotation 4, rotation 5, and rotation 6. Okay. So now I'm number 19. I'm in for those 3 rotations. Number 1 has been in the game in that spot. And number 19, me, I've been in the game in that spot. During this set, the 2 of us can only play in that spot. So number 1 can't go in for number 3. She can only come back in for number 19, me. Now, number 47 can also come in for me, Number 988 can also come in for me. We can put as many people as we want to in that spot. Once you're in that spot, you can't play in any other spot on the floor. This is what the dad got mad. He's like, why didn't you just put her back in the front row for number 7 instead of number 3 and let her play? You just can't do that. So here comes somebody else coming in. So anyway, so we want to get our rotations. We can only play in one spot in our rotation at a time. And we're only allowed 12 subs. Otherwise, you would run people in and out constantly, which would be great, fun to watch, but slows the game down tremendously. So once me, number 19, I go in for number 1, that's 1 substitution. When number 1 comes back in for me, that's a 2nd substitution. When number 47 comes in for number 1, that's a 3rd substitution, okay? If I sub in 2 kids at the same time into the game, number 23 and number 24 both go in for number 3 and number 4, that's 2 subs. So you're only allowed 12 subs in a match. So at some point in the game, some point in the season, you're going to have a team run out of subs. I will. I'll go ahead and tell you I will, because I try and get as many kids as I can in the game, even if it's just for a couple of plays. So I will absolutely at some point run out of subs, not on purpose, but knowingly we'll run out of subs. And you'll end up with the kid who's a defensive specialist, a back row player, ends up playing front row. And that's her moment of glory. She gets to hit, and hopefully it's in a game where we're up by a whole bunch and it won't really matter. Or we're down by a whole bunch and it won't really matter. But anyway, so you're only allowed 12 total subs in a set. That may seem like a lot, but it's not. You will absolutely, like I said, run out of subs right away. Now, there's a position called the libero. And you will notice that she wears a different colored jersey, and she is allowed to go in and out of the game all she wants to. She does not count as a sub, and she does not have to go in front of the 3-meter or 10-foot line. She just blazes in and out at the coach's request. Now, she has her own special set of rules. She has to sit out. When she comes out of play, she has to sit one whole play before she can go back in. She can't rotate to the front row. She can't jump and swing above the height of the net. She can't set the ball with her hands from in front of the 10-foot line if anybody's going to attack it. So if she sets it in front of the line, they have to free ball it over. So she has her own set of rules. And so you're going to have to, if your kid's playing libero, she's going to have to learn what those are, and you're just going to have to watch and figure out. That's one of those. There's a whole lot of information on how to make that work that I'm not going to go over all of it entirely, because we'll be here forever. So let me read. If the player can play each spot decently, do you allow the player to do so throughout the game? Do you allow middles? All right, so here's where we're going to get to that in a second. If I don't answer that question, when I get to the other thing, ask me that question again. So go ahead and copy and paste and get it ready. But so we have, I'll kind of answer it now, but I think it comes up a little bit later on. So when we talk about volleyball, it's a 3-rotation game. And what that means is that in reality, there may be 12 kids in my starting lineup. There are only 6 on the floor at a time. You go, well, that's not correct. But it is. So just like in football, we're kicking off. We're only going to have 11 people on the floor. But don't tell me that Tom Brady's not the starting quarterback, even though we're kicking off first. Even though he's not in the game at the beginning, he is the starter in that position. So it's the same thing with volleyball. You have a front row, 3 rotations, and a back row, 3 rotations that you're working for. So when your kid's sitting on the bench for the first 3 rotations, rotation 1, rotation 2, rotation 3, then all of a sudden she runs in rotation 4, 5, and 6, your kid was a starter in the match, even though she sat on the bench, okay? Now, when we talk about playing time in volleyball, we don't talk about playing time. We talk about numbers of rotations. So if you're irritated and your kid was only on the floor for 2 minutes, I might say your kid needs to learn to serve better then. So your kid goes back there and misses her serve. The girl on the other side misses her serve. Our next player misses, they miss. Our player misses, they miss. That's 6 serves in a row that have missed. It happens at the younger ages. Your kid just went boop, 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 and she's out of the game. She played 3 full rotations and never touched the ball except for on her serve. Nothing the coach can do about that. But that's the way the game is set up, is that you play it based on numbers of rotations. And so you're earning back row playing time and you're earning front row playing time. Now, are there kids who do both? Absolutely, for sure. And so you'll have some kids who play front row and back row, but they have earned back row playing time specifically. They have earned front row playing time specifically. And in the front row, we're looking at blocking and hitting for the most part. And in the back row, we're looking at passing and serve receive and then digging defensively. And then there's a setter in there as well. So do the jersey numbers indicate position? No. Jersey numbers are purely arbitrary as far as the game is concerned. It's definitely not like football in that regard. So if a player can play each of these, so I'll answer that part before we move on. Do you allow a middle to serve? Yes, absolutely. On my team currently, neither of my liberos are killing it with their serves, and neither are my middles killing it with their serves. And I've got to have 2 of those 4 players serve, and I am waiting for one of them to blow up the other one to get to serve. And so, and I've said that to them. They've seen it, so it's not like I'm saying something, behind their back. I haven't said it to them, but they know I can compete every practice of serving. So, anyway, so if my 2 middles could serve best, yes. But what you have to understand is if you're the middle serving, not only do you have to serve better, but your combination of serve and defense has to be higher than the defensive specialist's serve and defense. So it's not just my serve's better than her serve, because if you can't pass for the hoop, then we're going to lose if they send the ball back over anyway. So your serve is now not worth anything. So it's a little bit of a seesaw. We got to figure things out that way. All right. So I'm going to move on a little bit. I don't mean to we're not going to keep you guys on here for very long. This is what the court looks like. This is what I was talking about. The sideline right here, that's where our bench would be. Kids got to run up here in front of this 3-meter line right here. I don't know why that's so far away, but it's got to run in front of this. And then they'll go in here, with their back row player. So you'll see them run up, benches here, benches here. Whoa. And so that's what's happening there. So let's go over a little bit of what happens in the game. I think that's where we are next with the referee signal. Sorry, I got my chat open and your pictures up here and all that kind of stuff. So this is where people who have played for a little while get stumped the most. So I'm going to run through these things really quick. So we have for each team, we have a number of positions. There's an R1. That's the dude that's up on the stand, or the dudette. It's the man or the woman, whichever, that's up on the stand. Then there's the R2, which is the coach or the athlete that is down at the net. And then there's a scorekeeper that's keeping this piece of paper on the desk, and it's got all kinds of squares and X's and boxes, and that will be your kid. Then there's a libero tracker who tracks when, like I said, the libero has to come out for one play. They have to go back in and out for the same person. If they go in, they have to come out. Same person has to go in, and then they go in for somebody else. But it has its own set of rules, and that is tracked on that piece of paper. And then there's a score flipper that just flips the chart. And so all of that is part of the referee crew. So your kids are not going to R1, but they will, if they're lucky, R2, score keep, libero track, score flipper. So that thing that I sent you guys about, you got to do these modules and that's all scorekeeper, libero tracker, score flipper, R2. That's what all those modules are about, because we're going to hand them a whistle, or you got to buy a whistle, and they got to show up and be ready to referee. And we certainly will give them support. But they have to do it. And it's part of the education of the game. It's part of it will make them better players, understanding all the rules, the things they can and can't do. And they only get that way if they referee. Now, the reason they do it is because USAV and SRVA and USA Volleyball and the Southern Region Volleyball Association, all the clubs don't want to hire a full staff for every match. Your fees would go up $2,000 just to cover the cost of referee. So when the first time you complain about your kid having to referee, it saves us all a ton of money. So be happy that your kid can flip a scoreboard or point that the ball was in or the ball was out. So don't try and back out of that, because that's a thing we want to keep happening. So here are the referee signals. They're pretty good. So this is the R1. He's up on the stand. I'm going to see if I can get back a little bit here so you guys can see me. So this is beckon for serve. And you'll hear it. The referee will go tweet and then do this right here. And that means that girl over there needs to serve the ball over the net now. That's beckon for serve. That's all it means. And so if she doesn't serve the ball, she has 5 seconds to do it. And if she doesn't do it, you'll see the referee go tweet, and they'll do this, which means it's prolonged contact. She held the ball, and then they'll go 5 seconds. Okay. Or they'll just go 5 seconds, depending on which your referee is. I think technically they're supposed to do this, but most of them will go, it's a lift, 5 seconds. So then also when they serve, they have to serve from behind the certain line. At 13s and up, You have to serve from behind the end line, the white line at the very, very end. At some of 12s, you get to have a step-in line, which is 10 feet inside the court. And then 10s and 11s, they all get the step-in line. And so when you have to serve, you serve from behind that line when you contact the ball. Now, if you've ever watched high-level ball, they'll throw the ball 100 miles in the air. They'll run and they'll jump and they'll serve it, and then they'll land inside the court. Totally fine because they took off from behind the end line. If they step on the line when they're serving, the referee will go tweet and he'll point at their feet. He actually points at that line, and you'll see him do this. So he's pointing at the line and he's moving his hand back and forth. There was a line violation back there. The other thing that you'll see is the referee will blow the whistle and then he'll do this. And that means that somebody on that side of the net touched the net. Or if they do it with this hand, it means that somebody on that side of the net touched the net. And so you're going to want to watch for that. And so if you're 10s, 11s, 12s, the couple of calls that the beckon for serve is going to happen all the time. You're not really going to see a 5-second violation. That happens once a season. Foot fault, absolutely, you'll see a lot. Net violation, you'll see a lot at every age group because they want to try and keep people out of the net because that's how people get injured. They get banged into each other. So here's the other one they'll call a double. When on our first touch, you can, as long as you don't have prolonged contact, you can mangle the ball. That ball can hit this hand and your forehead and this hand or off the shoulder. And then you can, as long as it's all one attempt to play the ball, it's okay. That ball goes up in the air. But on your second and third contact, you cannot double touch the ball. And so you'll see a setter go to set it. And if they go bump, bump, the referee will blow the whistle and say 2. It's a double contact. The same thing can happen if I had that first contact and I mangle it, and then I reach to play it again. I've played the ball twice in a row, double contact. Okay, so that's your other one that they will call. Now, the next call, as the ball's flying out of bounds, I jump up to touch it as a player and it tips my fingertips and it goes out of bounds. You'll see the line judge on my side of the court do this. That just means that they touched the ball. If it's on this side of the court over here, they'll do the signal to that side of the body. So what you want to remember on these things is whatever side of the body they're doing it on, that's the side the violation happened. So when they're throwing this up, their net violation, you'll know whether your team won the ball. They touched it on this side, you'll know that this side won the ball. Touch it on this side, you'll know that side won the ball. So you're going to want to know what the calls are, but you're going to know which side of the court it's happening on. In the first slide or first couple of slides, I said you had to be in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your service order. That's how number 1 serves first, number 2 serves second, number 3 serves third, on down the line. If you get out of order, they'll point to your side of the court and they'll do this right here. Like, you guys are swirled up wrong. I'm sure that's not the official USA version, but that means that you're out of order. You're out of alignment, incorrect service order. It also happens if when we're in serve receive, we're supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we're out of order, they'll do the same thing. Tweet, even though we're not serving, we're out of order when the other team served the ball. We talked about prolonged contact. If they point into the court, so the next one, if they point into the court, that means the ball's in. If they point out, that means the ball's out. It landed outside of the court. Or there's the pins, the antennas on the net. If the ball goes outside that antenna or over the top of that antenna at all, it's considered out. Okay, so we consider that antenna runs a wall from the floor all the way to the roof, and any ball that would touch that wall, or that antenna is all the way that far, any ball that would touch that wall is out of bounds. Even if it goes cleanly up and over, it's considered out. So ball in, ball out, center line violation, there are foot things that you can do. You can stand on the line in the center line, but you can't go over it. And so they'll point down the middle. So when it's a single player violation, if you've noticed, they'll typically point wrong server, foot fault, center line violation. They're not pointing at the kid, but they're pointing at what happened in the fault. So when they point at one finger, that means somebody messed up. All right, so then loss of rally or point. So if we have a situation where this side hit the ball out, so we would say out, point, and we're going to point over there. I can't do it all the way over here. We're going to point over there. So it's out here, meaning the ball went out. The point is that direction. Or the ball was touched on this side, so it's their point over there. And so you'll figure these hand signals out pretty quickly. The ones that you need to know are the individual stuff, net fault. I'm sorry, foot fault, service fault. You'll need to know net violation. You'll need to know double contact. You'll need to know touch. Those are the ones that you'll get the most, and then you'll get a lift occasionally, or a prolonged contact, as it's called. And here's a little secret: the line itself is considered in. So if the ball bounces on the line, it is in. It has to land completely out. If it hits out and squishes down and hits the line, like somebody just crushed it, it's in. Any part of that ball contacts the line, it is in. So, and there'll be a lot of times that we'll all yell, no, when in reality, the ball was on the line. All right, so here we go. I'll answer a couple of questions here. USA volleyball referee course is not working. Even when we take steps, the course is not showing up. We've been having a hard time getting in for your athlete. Okay, so that referee course, if everything is correct, that referee course should auto-populate. So if you're having a hard time getting the referee course, there's probably something wrong with your account, meaning you've logged in or a different email, use it's a different email typically is what it is, but it should all be there. But there is a way to go into, if you just start clicking around, there's an academy. And so you can, on your page, find the courses that you want to take and not want to take, but it'll tell you, it'll say line judging for players, referee for players, that sort of thing. So you can find it, but you want to make sure it's for junior players. There are courses that are in there that are 8, 10, 12 hours. Your kid is doing a 2-hour max program. So I get that every now and then. I've just been 6 hours trying to take this test. You're not supposed to take the test. You're doing it wrong. So make sure you hear that. So let's see. There was another question on here. What about line judges that are role for the girls? Absolutely. And so there is, in those modules, there is a line judge course that will tell you how to call it in, how to call it out. We'll call a touch, and then how to work the antenna. All that information is in that line judge course. So that's super important for your kids. Any question about anything to this point? Is there a referee in-person practice session available? No, but I promise you at any point, you can referee even at practice. Your coach can help you. So if it's in a drill where you're out for a minute, you can absolutely get some reps doing it. You can also watch matches on YouTube, like look up the NCAA National Championship and just watch the referee. See if you can watch the game and see if you can mimic what they are doing. That's the single best way to get reps, is to watch a college match that shows it from the side. You can see the R2. That's the position, the down rep. That's the position that your athlete will do when they have to do it. But I'm going to go and tell you, we make sure that we have coaches that understand how to do this. And so we'll have a coach that shadows your kid. Hey, we're going to transition here. We're going to transition here. And at the younger ages, we do a great job of teaching our kids how to do it, because we want to make sure that you guys look good, because the better your athlete looks, the better our club looks. So we want to make sure that you're good. By the time you're 15, 16, if you don't get it, you got to get it on your own, because we're not taking quite as much time to teach refereeing skills. Okay, so let me move on just a little bit here. We're getting a little late. Okay, so here's some match game day, gameplay protocol etiquette things that are super important. When you're watching a match and you go from one match to the next match to the next match, you're going to see 3 different levels of refereeing. A referee is going to set the level that they want to set. And then the goal is, for all of us, is that they call that level, whatever that level is, whether it's super high or super low, that they call that same level. And so when we're watching, don't ever get upset if this referee on that court called a double or a lift or anything, and then the referee in the next match doesn't call it. Because as long as they're calling a consistent level, we're happy with that. The only time we're going to have our blood pressure up a little bit is when they call my setter a whole bunch of times for doubles and they don't call the other setter at all if he's doing the exact same things. But even then, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, shut my mouth, shut your kid's mouth, shut everybody's mouth, hands over, whatever it is you have to do. Do not ever yell at the referee. Do not. For 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, you will ruin the reputation of our club as being a great group of parents. And when you do that, I get phone calls and I have to call you and tell you can't come watch anymore. And then you get mad at me, but you did it. Okay, you did it. Number 2, they will kick you out of the venue, and it is embarrassing. I have done it. I've not had it done to me, but I have done it. I have escorted dads out of the gym just as fast as I could. And so when you yell at the referee, number 3, your team doesn't get any more calls. So if you let the coach, the better coaches, know how to manipulate's not the right word, but know how to interact with the referees to say, that was a lousy call, but okay, let's go. And the right time to say, hey, great call, ref, and that's right. And so then when you, for me, I R2 because I want the R1 to understand I know exactly what I'm doing, and I've ref for 20 years, and I've done college, and I've done high school, whatever, so that they understand I know the rules. So when I turn around and go, hey, that was maybe such and such, most of them go, hey, you're probably right. But if our parents are screaming, I'm not going to get the benefit of that doubt. So shh, don't do it. Don't do it. As if those veins start popping out, just sit still. Just sit on your hands and bite your tongue. Don't do it. Here's one of the things you're going to want to yell the most. Score! Score! When the little flip chart is wrong. Sorry, what just happened here? The flip chart does not matter. The only thing that matters is what's on that little piece of paper. Now, if the flip chart stays wrong for a long period of time, sometimes the kid will change the piece of paper to match the flip chart. That is just a hazard of the job. You're going to just sit there and go, okay. Now, you can tell the coach, hey, the score's wrong. And then the coach can ask for a score check. And when that happens in that way, they'll usually fix the flip chart, not the book, because the referee's looking at the book right there and they don't have time to erase. So there is a protocol to make all of that happen. Number 4 on this list, this is probably the most important page for all of this stuff. Do not yell at the line judge. It is a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old, 14-year-old kid that doesn't want to be there doing that any more than you do. So when they mess up, we all go, ah! And then you go right back to watching the game, and you don't yell at the line judge, because then you'll have a kid crying and she's definitely not paying attention at that point. And then somebody's dad is coming hunting you from the other side of the gym because you just made his little girl cry. And we don't need any of that. We don't need any of that business. We don't need any of that business. And your kid will be on that line before it's over with, and you don't want them yelling at her. So just don't yell at the referee. Don't yell at the line judge. Why do we have to referee? We talked about that earlier. It is part of the education, and it is a cost saver. It's good for her to learn the game that way, and it saves money from us having to hire R2s and scorekeepers, line judges, and all those things. So we support it. So one of the things that you're going to get in our club is if your team referees first, you all have to show up. Even though there are only 7 or 8 positions, all 12 kids have to come. And if your team referees last, even though there are only 7 or 8 positions, you all have to stay till the end. Otherwise, you'll get parents that start trying to manipulate the system to match what they want. I'm going to ref these 2-3 in the middle, so I don't have to come early or stay late. And then everybody wants to ref the 2 matches in the middle, and nobody wants to referee the others. And then we've got this cluster. So it is a club-wide rule. If your team referees first, you referee first, and everybody's there. If your team referees last, you stay there and you referee last, and everybody's there. Now, there are extenuating circumstances, but they will be handled on a coach-by-coach basis. If you're in Minneapolis and you're about to miss a flight and you are willing to take on refereeing assignments in the future in exchange for getting to leave early, that's between you and the coach. But do not plan on that. Do not plan on that, because it is a club-wide rule. If you referee, you're there. You don't go watch your sister play. You don't do it. You are there. The last thing the coach wants to do is have to try and find line judges in between set 1 and set 2, or if it goes to set 3, try and find, and there's nobody there. And then they're announcing our team name over the loudspeaker because our kids have walked away, and I will lose my mind at that point. And so there would be repercussions at that point as far as what has to happen within the club. You have to be there. You have to be there. Okay. So that's our last match is over. My daughter is not working. May we leave? No. Score's wrong. Why won't they fix it? Again, they will. Eventually they'll check it with the paper and they'll make that one red. Match. Do we have to referee score keep? Yes. Take the online clinics. Talked about that. Why is my daughter wearing a different jersey? That's the libero that we were talking about. So that's a plus, and it has to be a contrasting color. So you'll notice you can't wear your black jersey and your royal blue jersey together at some tournaments. They're not contrasting enough. Some tournaments they are, depends on who the referees are, but you'll always wear a white and blue together and a white and black together if you're libero. So those are things that you don't really need to know that, just for information in the back of your head. All right, so I've covered a whole bunch of stuff here. There's a little bit more to go. There's probably another 3 slides here. So there's not a ton more. Is there anything at this point that I need to clarify or give you more information on? You can put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and scream at me. Either one's good. All right, here's what's going to happen on tournament day. This is what you don't know. If you've never done it before, you don't know these things. Tournament days are the pits. They are the most exciting. You'll love them and hate them at the same time. You're going to be at some gym at 7 a.m. And if it's a one-day tournament, you're going to be there until 5, 6, 7 p.m. that afternoon. You just go ahead and plan on it. You bring food for it. You pack a cooler in the car. You do all the things to give yourself a full day's worth of entertainment and food and drinks, and you just plan on it. We run tournaments that we try and get everybody out by 2 or 3 o'clock. And so if you happen to play on one of our events, you'll probably get to go home earlier. We only run 14 pools, whereas most clubs run 15 pools. A 14 pool is over in, I think it's 7 hours. A 15 pool is over in 10 hours. And so if you're in a 15 pool, I'm sorry, it wasn't one of our tournaments. So for your athlete, bring tons of food, put them in a Ziploc bag in their backpack. Go ahead and make a lunch plan, go ahead and make a dinner plan of whatever it is that you're going to need. Stuff that backpack full of water, full of water, full of water. Bring stuff like cards and headphones and music and all that kind of stuff so they can listen to stuff to keep them occupied. So some tournaments will give you the opportunity to do food tables. I have certain parents that love food tables, and what they will do is they will set up a spread on that food table, and the kids will graze on it all day long, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And they want to do the boards with all the kids' pictures and lights, and they want strobe lights and sirens and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to plug in 6 crock pots that they're not supposed to plug in at all, but they're going to bring a battery from their car to keep the crock pot warm. They're going to do everything, and then you're going to eat a hot lunch, but that's a lot. That's a lot of work. And so we don't discourage it, but most of the gyms we go to, if they give you food tables, there's no room for anybody. And so do it if you want to do it, but don't feel bad about a Ziploc bag full of snacks in your kid's backpack and you're going to go to Jimmy John's down the road to have them deliver sandwiches to you. Don't sweat it. And I see your question over there about outside food. We'll talk about that in a second. Actually, let's talk about that now. So the question was tournament rules for this weekend say no outside food allowed. Anytime they say no outside food allowed, it's for 2 purposes. It's 1 for them to make money and 2 for them to sell food, which are kind of the same purpose. So there will be a concession stand there where you can buy pizza, barbecue, nachos, whatever really crappy food that you shouldn't eat on a tournament day. It'll all be there. You'll see me eating chicken fingers and nachos and pizza because I'm too lazy to pack a lunch. But that's not necessarily what we recommend for your athlete. Although they'll all do it at some point because it's just a matter of convenience. But there is a concession stand there that you can buy food from. And that's when they say no outside food. Now, we got a lot of people who will go get a Jimmy John's sandwich that morning, throw it in their backpack, and they'll eat it at lunch. And there's nobody there policing you. So it's not like they're going to kick you out for having a Jimmy John's sandwich. They just don't want you just can't roll in a cooler full of food. They're not checking backpacks, but they just don't want you to bring in a spread. So they will prevent you from doing that. Can you recommend a good, thorough, short recap of this information or look at our YouTube video, perhaps? Thanks in advance. Honestly, watching a volleyball match is about the best thing you're going to get for this information. It's some of the stuff you're not going to get there until you've done it once. Like the long day for tournaments, it is what it is. So a couple of things. How much in advance do we find out time we need to arrive at a tournament? We're going to talk about that in just a second. Don't let me forget to come back to that question. So how's playing time determined for your kid? So here we go. You've gone to a tournament. Your kid doesn't play as much as everybody else. Don't get upset. Talk to the coach later about why your kid didn't play as much. Did your kid miss stuff? Are they not as good? Did they need to learn something new? Or what's going on? Why? And just have a normal conversation with the coach. And every coach will welcome that conversation, and they'll tell you, hey, in practice, we keep stats, and this is where your kid did this, or your kid can't serve the ball over the net yet. We're working on it every single practice, but I'm not going to put them in that spot. So you're not going to serve in rotation 1. You'll go to rotation 2 and rotation 3. So, and on every single team, at each different level, we have different playing time requirements. The ATL level, playing time's equal. Premier level, it's fair, but not equal. And then at the Elite and National, we're playing to win. So we don't want anybody to sit on the bench. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to play the best 7, 8, 9 kids in order to win the match. And that may not be your daughter this week. It might be next week. So playing time is determined in practice. And again, we talked about this before. It's rotations, not minutes. Please don't put a stopwatch on it. It is not a good indicator. You might be in there for 24 points in a row and never touch the ball. Just look at rotations. And then it's a 3 rotation game. If your kid's playing 3 rotations, she is playing in that game. Now, you may want her to hit front row. You may talk to the coach about what do we need to do? Do we need to take classes, whatever, to get to do that. But if she's playing 3 rotations, she is in the game. She is a starter. She is a full-time participant in that match. Okay, so do I need to miss a day of school? If you're on this call, you probably don't have an athlete on the team that is going to miss a day of school. For the most part, you've played enough so that you kind of know that what's going on. There are a few tournaments that require you miss a day of school. Big South is one of those tournaments. It's here in town. It is a gigantic, it's the largest tournament in the country, maybe the world, over one weekend. There'll be thousands of teams here. And it is a spectacle to behold, and it is amazing. It is, it's either Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It is a national qualifier, and you will have to miss a day of school for that tournament. So that schedule's been out from the beginning. So it shouldn't be a surprise to you, but just in case you didn't notice it, that is one that you would miss a day of school. There are some tournaments that are, the national qualifiers are really the ones where you might have to. They usually are over a weekend. We are happy that Big South has you miss a day of school because it's not on Easter weekend, which it normally is. So I'd rather be able to go to church on Easter and miss a day of school. But that's kind of where we are. And why do we have to referee? We talked about that already. So obviously some of these screens are a little bit redundant. Can you describe how pool play works? I am just about to do that. And how much in advance do we find out when we need to arrive at a tournament? You're going to find that out in just a second. Where do I find my play schedule? There are 3 places where you're going to find your play schedule, and I'm going to go over them in just 2 seconds, and we're going to show you. SRVA.org. SRVA is the Southern Region Volleyball Association of USA Volleyball. So that's our region that we compete in. So if you're going to write anything down, you want to write these 3 things down. SRVA.org is the region website, and you're going to get the mostly the smaller tournaments, the one-day tournaments. The local tournaments, those are on srva.org for the most part. When you get to 2-day tournaments or 3-day tournaments, they're on one of 2 websites. AdvancedEventSystems.com is the big one. SportWrench.com is the new one. So SportWrench is coming on. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but Advanced Event Systems is currently the largest, and SportWrench is trying to catch up. If you go to any of those 3 websites, they will tell you who all's in the tournament. They'll tell you what time it starts. They'll link to the website, which will tell you what wave times are, which I'll tell you what that is in a second. They'll tell you all kinds of information. So wave times are when you start. So if you're playing at Little Big South this weekend, you're either in the AM wave and you're going to play at 8 o'clock, or you're in the PM wave and you're going to play at 3 o'clock. And so you'll find that information out well in advance. But the play schedule for the tournaments for this weekend for Little Big South was just released about an hour ago. So we know what it is now. So this is about when you find out. Somewhere between Tuesday, Wednesday, the day of the tournament, or the week of the tournament, you find out what the exact schedule is for that weekend. And they wait and they wait and they wait on purpose because their kids are going to drop because teams get sick or whatever, coach can't come all of a sudden, whatever. So they wait at the last minute to put out the exact schedule. But you'll know weeks in advance whether you play early or whether you play late. So the advanced, I'm going to take you to each of those websites quickly. Let me read the thing. Can you describe how pool play works? Yes. Will you email the slide deck as well as the recording? Yes, I will absolutely email this and that out. So I'm going to escape off of this for just 1 second and go over to, this is what the SRVA page looks like. Can you guys see this page? Southern Region Volleyball Association. Can you see it? Thumbs up.
No,
yes,
we see your PowerPoint.
You still see the PowerPoint. Okay, let me stop sharing. All right, let me stop sharing that. Let me go into srva.org and let me share. Oh, hold on. Sorry. This is going to take about 2 seconds here. So this is srva.org. If it will let me share it with you. Great. So you guys can see this. This is srva.org. All you're going to do is you're going to go to events, tournaments, junior tournaments. Events, tournaments, junior tournaments. And when you click on it, it'll take you to this. Now, If you don't want to sort through all this stuff, if you want to, if your kid's playing 12s, you can click on the 12 right here and view, and it'll pull up all the tournaments that have 12s that are local region tournaments. Now, Little Big South is not on them. But this weekend, for instance, at Tsunami South, we're running a tournament. And so today's date is the 11th. The 14th is this weekend. So you go on the side over here, January 7th, 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 14th, and then you look over here and you find all the information for the tournament. So Tsunami Volleyball, that's me. These are the two divisions that we're running at Tsunami this weekend. So you click on Girls 14 Club and it will pull up, this is what the schedule is for those teams. So we have a couple of teams in 13s. And so this is kind of where we are. These are two 4-team pools. So here's how pool play works. These 4 teams right here are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, just so you guys know for future reference, this is the number 1 team in the tournament. Okay. This is the number 2 team in the tournament. This is the number 3 team in the tournament. And this is the number 4 team in the tournament. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. And then cross court 13s are the lowest ranked team in this tournament. So it's called snake seeding. And so that's what they do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's just kind of go back and forth. Now, this point of the year, those rankings are worthless. Absolutely worthless. They don't mean a thing. Later on in the year, they'll be ranked based on what they've done in terms of wins and losses. Right now, the best team here may be cross court, which is the lowest ranked team. Nobody knows. But anyway, so if you're on Kwong's 13 team, you are the number 1 seed, and the number 1 seed plays first versus number 3, which is Aftershock, and number 2, Tsunami Allison, referees. And that match starts at 8 o'clock. Do you see that? So this is the first match of that pool, okay? It is up to Kwong to tell his team what time he wants them there. If he does not tell you, we typically say 1 hour before play if you're playing first, 30 minutes before play if you're refereeing first. So Kwong's team would need to be at the gym at 7 a.m. Allison's team would need to be at the gym at 7:30 a.m. because Kwong plays first and Allison referees first. So she doesn't have to be there with shoes on and warmed up and all that kind of stuff. She just has to be there to take care of the paperwork. Now, Allison may tell you to be there 45 minutes or an hour early. That's up to Allison. And, I don't want to circumvent that. If she needs you there early, and she needs you there early, Kwong may say, 7:15 is fine. Okay, that's up to them. But if there's no answer, you show up an hour early if you're playing, you show up 30 minutes early if you're refereeing. So then the second match, after that first match, Team 2, Allison, will play Team 4 cross court, and Team 1, Kwong, will referee. And then the next match is cross court versus Kwong with Aftershock refereeing. And then you take a 30-minute break where everybody eats, and you go on into the rest of this pool, which is 2 versus 3 with 1 referee. You guys can see the rest of that as it goes through. At the same time that's going on one court, this is going on. Pool B is playing on the second court, and that's how pool play works. And at the end of pool play, everybody will have a record of how they have done. So Kwong's team will be 3-0, Allison's team will be 2-1, Aftershock will be 1-2, and cross court will be 0-3. And so they'll be ranked 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end of the day. And then the top 2 teams in Pool A will go play the top 2 teams in Pool B in a bracket, the gold bracket, where you win, you keep playing, you lose, you're out. And then the bottom 2 teams, 3 and 4 in Pool A, will play 3 and 4 in Pool B in the silver bracket, once again, where you lose, you're out. But everybody makes it out of pool play into one bracket or another. So when you look at your schedule right here, you go, ooh, I'm playing at 8, and I don't know why he said 8:50. Usually it's at 8, 9, 10, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. Oh, we're going to be out of there by 2:30. No, at 2:30, you're going to have bracket play. So then you probably play at 2:30 and 3:30. So you're probably going to leave this day at 4 o'clock in general. So unfortunately we get behind sometimes. But if it's quick and everybody blows everybody out, you may be out of there at 2 o'clock, having played all these matches. So even though this third match might be scheduled at 9:40 based on their 50-minute matches, might be scheduled at 9:40, if it's ready to play at 9:20, you're going to play at 9:20. So you're going to play as soon as the match in front of you is over. So don't go anywhere if you know one team is about to blow out the other one. So the downside of this is Pool A finishes early and Pool B takes forever. Pool A has to wait on Pool B to finish. It's just the way it works because you can't do bracket play until that finishes up. So that's how pool play works, and that's how bracket play works. So on every single tournament you're in, you're going to have pool play first, and then there will be bracket play afterwards. On the other systems, and I'm going to go there now. I'm going to close this out. On the other systems, let me stop sharing here and put you on the other one real quick. And I'm not going to keep you much longer. I promise I'm trying to hurry through this. On the other systems, for this weekend, this is Sport Rich. Well, let me share that with you real quick. All right, so this is Sport Wrench. This is some of the other systems. It's all digital, but it'll make a little more sense. So you're going to go right here and you're going to type in the tournament name. We're playing in Little Big South, not little, but Lil Big South. And then you're going to click on Little Big South. And now I know that the schedule's already up, so I'm going to click right here where the schedule is, and it's going to bring all this up. Now, for me, I want to know where all my teams are playing, so I'm going to click on Tsunami. For you, you can click on divisions, and you can go click on the division that your team is playing in. So my 12s are playing 13 power. And so we're going to go in here. We'll go find my pool and brackets. Now, we're all in one big, giant pool. So when I click on my pool, it looks like that, which looks crazy. But if you look at it, you'll be able to say that this is team 1 versus team 2 with this team reffing on court 19. Then at the same time, A5 South 13 Isla is playing Tsunami 12 Jeff with Aaliyah's team reffing on court 20. And so you can follow your schedule that way. So what it does for you, though, is at the end of it, you can start following on some of the bigger divisions. They'll stay down here. First place plays here, second place plays here. And so you just start following the trail of where it takes you on each of these. In advanced event systems, the same way. You click on the tournament, you type in the tournament name, you go find your schedule, you click on the club, or you click on whatever. So in this instance, we could go back here and go to Little Big South, find club, go down to the bottom where Tsunami is. This is where all the Tsunami teams are playing this weekend, on which court, goodness gracious, that's a lot of teams, on which court they're on, and it'll tell you everything about it in their next match. And so you can follow. And the advantage of Sport Wrench and advanced event systems is they will tell you the scores and who won each match. If you're on SRVA, you won't know that information for 2 or 3 days because they post it later. So those 3 websites have a ton of information on them, and they're fun to follow. And so if you're like me, you get into it. I look at all the scores of all the teams, not just the ones I'm coaching, because I want to follow what all of my people are doing. There's a ton of information on those 3 websites. All right. So let me see here. Answer questions. Will you even slide that? Yeah, it's very helpful. Great. And then I've got, let me see, what's the last? USA Volleyball. I'm not going to go over that. That's super simple. And then let's see what's here. What you carry in your backpack. All right, let's make it. Yeah, what you carry in your backpack. These things you need, obviously personal hygiene items. You need extra socks and knee pads. The most important thing you bring. Oh, sorry, I don't have you guys. I'm not sharing this at all with you, Emma. Sorry. The most important thing you bring, all jerseys. Every single jersey. If you played in it on day 1 and it is dirty, you put it back in your backpack and you bring it on day 2. Do not ever come without all of your jerseys. As soon as you do, somebody's going to bleed. And when they bleed on a jersey, they get hit by a ball, nosebleeds on the jersey, they have to change jerseys. And so everybody on the team is going to sprint to the bathroom and change from the white jersey to the black jersey. And we've all done it. And so you're all going to have to change. And your kid didn't pack her black jersey because she wore it on day 1. Your kid's not playing, not the kid that got the bloody nose. Your kid's not going to play. And it happens. It absolutely happens. You put every single jersey in that backpack. What I recommend is if you're staying in a hotel, you wash that jersey in the sink the night you finish, and you hang it out. They're super thin. They're polyester. They will dry overnight. Or bring a Ziploc bag and put it in, whatever. But anyway, they're fine. Hit it with a blow dryer. It'll be fine. But bring that jersey every single time. Then you're going to need a whistle. If you're ever going to do the R2, you're going to want a whistle. You can get one at Walmart. They're fine. They're not very good, but they're fine. Put a pen and a pencil in there because you're going to, as you're taking, as you learn how to do the score sheet, you're going to need those things. Then your food and your snacks and your water, Band-Aids, any type. If you got a bum shoulder, what it brings, bring an ice bag or whatever you can put on it. Bring all that stuff and some headphones if you're going to listen to music. Because we want you guys as teams to hang out. We'll probably take their phone or tell them to put their phones away. We probably won't allow them that. But at some point there'll be a time when they can just eat and put their headphones on and listen. And it's kind of relaxing to push out all the squeaky sneakers and balls bouncing and everything that are in some of these convention centers. So, all right. So here's for the parents. It's called Passing. not bumping. I know you've heard bump, set, spike your whole life. Nobody says that. Nobody. It is passing the ball. You can hit the ball. You can swing at the ball. You can hammer the ball. You can drive the ball. You can crush the ball. You can do anything except spike the ball. So if anybody tells you they're spiking the ball, that probably tells you that they're a little bit behind. It's kind of like, let me go get my Kodak and take a picture. We don't call it a Kodak anymore. We have my phone and take a picture because times have changed. And so the next question is, last question. Most of you guys are probably coaching young kids. You're going to watch your kid, for some of you, you're going to watch your kid lose a match, and you're going to say, why in the world did we ever lose that match? At tens, we're going to have some kids that are better than kids on the other side of the net, and we're going to lose. Straight up, we're going to lose. Because we're going to force our kids to pass and set and hit the ball. We're not going to let them first ball the ball over. We don't teach that. That does not make them better. And so we're going to, if you guys can mute yourselves, I'm not where I can mute you at this point, but if you guys can mute yourself. So we want to make sure that we're teaching the game correctly. So we will pass. Sorry, give me just a second here, everybody. Hold on, let me go back and mute everybody.
You smell like the gym.
Mute yourself, please. I can't find the mute button anyway. So mute yourself, please. All right. So anyway, so we're going to pass, set, swing. That is what we do. You're going to teach that, especially at the younger ages. You're going to get frustrated because we lose a match that we probably shouldn't lose because we're forcing them to do it correctly. You'll watch my 12s. If you ever watch my 12s, we're probably going to lose some matches on this weekend because I'm forcing my setters to set up tempo, fast tempo balls to my middles, and we're not ready for it. So we're going to lose probably 4 or 5 points a set just because we're forcing our setters to set that ball. And so at the end of the day, you can go, wow, Jeff's team finished middle of the pack. Yep. But by the end of the season, we're going to beat those teams by double digits. And so that's kind of what we're about. So the same thing with the tens. By the end of the season, tens are going to pass, set, swing. And so now it changes the game. So our goal is to get to 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s and be super successful and get our kids recruited to play in college. That's where we are. All right. So I've covered everything. There are a couple of questions in the chat I'm going to go over. But if there's anything that you need, yell at me. All right. So here we go. So I've got I got one question here. Let's see what that one is. You want to set this up as a webinar in the future? I've been there. Webinar. Okay, great. It's very helpful. Thank you. When we get to use Huddle. So if you're with Huddle, your coach has that information. If it's this season, if you're asking about a future season, then it's typically when we need to start taking stats officially. So you'll know it when that happens. And so I'm trying to see here. I got one private message to see what that is. Okay. All right. So I've seen everything I say. All right. So I've answered all the questions that I have. I saw someone had their hand raised before. Let me say it this way. I've covered everything I need to cover. I've covered everything that I know of that I've been asked 1,000 times over the past 20 years. So I'm finished. You guys are welcome to peace out and go. Thank you for being here. If you still have questions, or if you just want to hear and you want to stick around and hear the rest of the conversation, I will stick around for the next 20, 25, 30 minutes if we need to, just chit-chatting about volleyball and stuff. So I'm happy to do that. So if you have a question, type it up or unmute yourself and just ask. I know, Manisha, you had your hand up earlier. So if you want to unmute yourself and yell at me, I'm happy to answer. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I was actually, it was around the schedule because I was on the website here looking at the tournament schedule as you were showing it. And I did not see my daughter's team on that list for this weekend. And so I just wanted clarity around how I'm supposed to know which weekend she's playing.
Got it. All right. So so on your team webpage, on tsunamivolleyball.com, on your team webpage, it should have the schedule. Now, we've got 125 teams, and we did not get into every tournament we wanted. And so at this point, we are clawing, trying to, where we've been waitlisting that, we're trying to move people around. So there has been some movement. So I won't promise that we have it all perfectly correct. But if it's on your team webpage, it should be correct. I would say that's 99% correct. So on your webpage, it should be correct. So now What team
It's
is your
not.
daughter on?
I'm in there. She's on
What?
14 to Nathan. I'm on the SRVA website now, and I just clicked on my team.
So
It says
14 to Nathan is a national team or elite team?
they're national.
The national team. They're in the sport ranch for Little Big South. So if we do this is a great opportunity to go. If we go right here. All right, so let's go back to, let's find it the easy way. Let's search by, well, we have to do it by club anyway. All right, so if we go club, I'm assuming you guys can see this on the volleyball, and then you can see 18, 18, 18, 18. So we go down here to 14s, 14, we're at 14. So we get down to 15 club, 13, 14 open. So now we start looking Christine, Kelly, Jason, Kyla, Tim, Nathan, Brian, Shakina, Savannah, Kara, Haley.
You know Nathan. 14 to.
It's a good question.
Did you just pass Nathan? She's on 14 to Nathan.
Did I pass Nathan?
You said Nathan's name. I thought
did
you
I
did.
say? Kayla, Tim, Kyla, Jason. I said Jason.
Jason.
All right, so I don't see it here right now. That may be a conversation that we have off. They're supposed to, if they were supposed to be in, they should be on. So
it's an Atlanta team.
Oh, it's an ATL team. It's an ATL team. Got it. Okay, so they're not a national. Yeah. Okay, so they would be they would be on a different they would be on a they may not be playing. I don't think they're playing this weekend. I just think our 13 ATL teams are playing this weekend. I don't think the 14s are playing. Are they?
No, I think they're playing next weekend. I was just trying to see.
Correct. Got it. So if you go to srva.org and then you click on next weekend, January 21st, and you try and find the schedule that way, whatever tournament they're playing in, at that point, you should be able to do that. All right. Does that answer your question?
That does. That's helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So here's another question. Are girls ever changed to other teams at this point? For example, perhaps your girl was put on one level, but she is probably better suited for a low level. Can the adjustment be made? 99 times out of 100, if your athlete needs to move down, that is an easy switch. There's always somebody down begging to move up. And there's a coach that has your daughter on her team, and I don't know who you are, so I'm not making a judgment about your kid. But if your kid is on a team and she's the bottom kid on that team, then if you would like to move her down a team, just tell your coach, and the coach will, just say, hey, we recognize that she's probably going to struggle for playing time here, and we'd rather put her in a situation where she's going to get a little more playing time. She's going to be happier. We're going to be happier. That coach is going to be happier. That's an easy conversation. If you came to me and go, my daughter's better than everybody else on the team, I need to move up, then it's a little different conversation because most of the teams are full and it's harder to get somebody to move down. But if she wants to move down, it's easy to find somebody to move up, and we can keep the numbers the same. And so we can certainly make that happen. That's not a problem. So hope that answers your question. All right, who else has a question? Who ask me volleyball stuff, ask me club stuff, whatever it is.
I have a question actually.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So when you were talking about pool play, and you have team 1 playing team 3.
Yep.
Is it just one match, or do they play best out of 3?
Sorry, it went to the wrong thing. So stop it. I'm trying to go back over here. Sorry, I'll answer your question as soon as this thing lets me go where I want to go. Safari right there. Schedule. Stop it. Okay. Let's try that. Let's try that one more time. Here we go, and share. And let's say, why in the world will it not do that? This is weird. Maybe I'm still sharing. Stop share. If I can go here, give me a second. All right. So if team 1 is playing team 3, I'm just going to answer your question. For whatever reason, it won't let me share that screen. If team 1 is playing team 3, you're going to play one match. Depending on the tournament, that one match may be 2 sets, or it may be best 2 out of 3. You're going to play that team one time, and then you're going to get your record. You went 1-0 in the match. You went 2-0 in sets. So you won in 2 sets. You won the match. That's your record. And then you're going to go play another team, or you're going to referee, or whatever it is. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So I guess it just depends on the tournament, I guess.
It does depend on the tournament as to whether it is 2 sets or best 2 out of 3, and whether you start at 4. If you're in a one-day tournament that's a local tournament at my gym or TK or A5 or this is one-day tournaments, you're probably going to play 2 sets in pool play and then best 2 out of 3 in bracket play. That's pretty normal. Otherwise, you're at the
cool.
gym. Otherwise, you're at the gym until midnight. Nobody wants that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is all brand spanking new. So this
I
has
know.
been great information. So thank you.
Good. You're very welcome. And I'll send it out later. We do have a Facebook page that some of our moms monitor that are lifers that have been here for a long time. That is where you're at a tournament. You're like, what in the heck just happened? You can send it out to those guys and they'll usually monitor it. I just don't put it in this presentation because then people start sending questions right away and they're like, well, I don't know what we're doing. So anyway, so I'll send that out later. Are there waves always 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. for all tournaments? Typically they might be 9 and 4, but you don't really want that because that means you're going to be at the gym until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Also, how far in advance is that put out? The waves are usually put out weeks in advance. Once they start to see the numbers for registration, they want to divide it up so it's kind of even, Steven. And so they'll put those out usually far enough in advance for if you're driving up for you to make the decision whether you're going to leave that Friday night or whether you're going to drive up Saturday morning. That usually comes out in plenty of time. Is that on the SRVA website? None of the tournaments on the SRVA website are going to have waves. They're all one day events, and you're going to knock them out on one day. So there won't be a wave there. If you are AM wave, is that for every day of the tournament? Is bracket only on last day? So bracket's only on last day. If you're AM wave on day 1, it means nothing for day 2. So the way Big South is usually set up is that everybody plays AM or PM, whichever wave on day 1. And then all the winners will play AM on day 2. And all the guys who finish 3rd or 4th in the pool will play PM on day 2. That's usually how it works. And then on day 3, when you go into bracket play, the ones who play early are usually the top winners of that group. And then the losers of that group play at 10, 11, 12 o'clock. And then the as the day goes on, the level gets lower, usually. But that schedule, if you were to go to Sport Wrench right now, that schedule is posted on there. If you find your team and you click on it, it'll tell you if you finish first on day 1, this is where you play next. If you finish second on day 1, this is where you play next. And so it will tell you all that information on those digital, those advanced event systems and Sport Wrench. That information is there. Faux show. So if our tournament is at 3 p.m., what is the estimated time we will get out? So if you've got a PM wave, typically you're only playing the pool play. You're not playing bracket play that same day. So you'll play for 4, 5, or 6 hours, depending on the tournament and how it's set up. This time I'm in an 8-team pool. So my schedule is different than if I were in a 4-team pool and just playing 3 matches and going home. So that does change by the tournament. So I would say 8, 9, 10. Although I have been at the gym at midnight. And it's the pits, but it happens. It absolutely happens. All right. How am I distributing this recording? I know some parents did not get in. Yeah, I hate that. I'm so sorry. I had it set up to allow more people, but it wouldn't work. I will post this on YouTube later tonight, and I'll send the link out to all the teams so they can watch it, and then they can email me if they have additional questions. So hopefully that's what I'm trying to cover everything. So that they don't have to reach back out. I hate it. I thought I'd fixed it permanently, but evidently I didn't. I must have done a 30-day trial. All right, what else? Yell at me. What do we have? What did I not talk about? This is something I've done for a long time, so I will happily answer anybody's anything. So I'll tell you guys one of the things that's coming up in the near future. A couple of things. This is new. So for the last 50 of you guys that stuck around, for the first time ever, this is new. This summer, they are going to have tryouts in July. So the Southern region voted to move all of the tryout dates to July. So you're going to get a lot of information coming up from me very, very soon about July tryout dates instead of October and November. So the downside of that is that you'll have less time to train over the summer before you have tryouts. But the upside of that is we're struggling with uniforms right now because we had to order them late so we could get them late. We missed some of our tournament registration because we don't make our teams until October and November, and places like Texas and California and Minnesota and all those guys have already made their teams. So all the big tournaments, they register for October 1st. Their teams are complete, rosters are complete. So there'll be some advantages to that. That's number one. Number two, for those of you who are Cobb families, I think we're signing the lease on another 5 courts. starting in March. So even this season, we should be able to get into, we should be able to start to reel back in some of those programs in other places and put it back under our own roofs. We'll have 8.5 courts at Cobb. So that's your inside skinny that not everybody else has. Number 3, we will take a bunch of teams to AAU Nationals in July. So if your daughter is on a premier team or an ATL team that's not, or a 14 and under national team, that's not automatically going to AAU Nationals, we will put some teams together to go. So if your daughter wants more after the season is over, she will have that opportunity. We'll have those tryouts in March, or not tryouts. We'll have those signups in March, late February and early March. We'll have those signups. And then if we need to add more kids, we'll have tryouts. So you got three little pieces of skinny that everybody left early not left early, but everybody that's already left didn't get that information. And what if we're out of the country in July? That is the absolute worst. And I say this knowing that my family always takes our vacation in July, right after nationals. But I'm going to be gone for like 2 weeks for nationals. Then we're going to get home, and the very next day they're supposed to have tryouts. So we're not sure about that. We're trying to figure all of that stuff out. Our intention, what I hope is going to be able to do, is that we're able to offer your daughter a spot to play with us next season without you having to try out. So we just offer you a spot. We guarantee you a spot within a certain level. We're going to put you on an elite team next year. You're going to have to earn the 1 team or the 2 team. We guarantee you a spot. If you want to go ahead and sign the contract, you're in. You don't have to try out. Same thing for Premier. I'll guarantee you a Premier spot. You can move up to a national spot. You can't move down to an ATL spot. I'll guarantee you a spot at Premier. Congratulations, you won it. And so if that's the case, then you would be able to, if you wanted to, go ahead and sign your daughter up. She has a guaranteed spot. You go to Europe, everybody's happy. Yay! But we'll know all that. We'll know more about that information in the next 48 hours, probably. The region hasn't released that information. It was just part of a board meeting that I was able to get the information for. What if your girl's at camp in July? I don't know. I suggest she show out this year a lot, to the point where her coach knows exactly who she is. And we're begging you to sign a contract and come back and stay with us. You're very welcome. All right. Any other questions? I'm happy to stay here. I'm not rushing you guys at all.
I have a question just about the
Yes,
organization.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Tsunami the largest club in Atlanta now with the addition of Cobb? I feel like it's huge.
It is huge. I think we are the largest club in the Southeastern U.S. I don't have any proof to back that up, other than I don't know of anybody else that is like us at this point. And what's absolutely crazy is that happened in about 2 months. So we were taking over Cobb Atlanta, not taking over, we were starting in Cobb, and then we hit the brakes because we lost the gym space at the last minute. And so then we jumped back into everything, did it all again. And so realistically, in 2 months, we put together this huge organization. So some of the things that look a little disorganized right now are not normally disorganized. So going into next season, except for the fact that now tryouts are in July, and so we're kind of starting our business model again, we should be a lot smoother. So I hope you guys are like, oh, everything looks great, but underneath we're absolutely paddling like mad to try and get everything done, try and get our June camp schedules out this week and all that kind of stuff. With the first tournament going on, it's kind of like we're all in the office crying every day. It's pretty sad, but we'll get there.
So Jeff,
yes.
So they'll try out in July, but then they won't start until the normal, like November, October.
Correct. We have to figure out what the details are, so we don't know. But what I think will happen, in my head, what's going to happen is that for the teams that end in April, May, we're going to do a ton of tryout prep stuff in June. We'll do a ton of camps and clinics and positional work and all that kind of stuff for those athletes. And then in July, we'll have those tryouts. And then then we won't do anything in July practically at all. We'll have some team stuff just for you guys to kind of stay in the gym, but not the same way we've done it, because we know you're going to go into school ball and then right back into club ball. So we're not really sure, but it is not my intention for you to be with your coach from July 5th or 6th or whatever that date is through the following July 4th. That's a year of that coach coaching you. And it's just too much for your kid. It's too much for the coach. It's too much money. Now, instead of charging you guys this astronomical price we already having to charge you, we got to charge you 3 months more. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it to you. You don't want to pay it. So we got to figure out how this stuff works. So there are a lot of little details like that. That answer your question that I don't know what I'm doing. So we've got starting charges to increase the package pricing. I don't think so. It is not my intention to do anything more. We're in the gym an insane amount of time, so I don't anticipate anything changing. We'll have stuff they can come do, and it'll be optional. If you want to pay for that extra stuff, those extra months, you can, but it's not mandatory. We'll probably put together a package where you can pay at a set price and train all summer long in whatever class you want to go to. We've still got to figure all this stuff out. We'll have some in-store for parent grant. You actually should have got an email today about another chance to get spirit wear stuff. If it didn't come out today, it will come out tomorrow. The opportunity to buy more t-shirts and Tsunami gear. It's coming. If it's not out, it's coming. So check your email for that. Would 15 and up be a few weeks later? No idea. No clue. We just got the word just recently. I don't think so. I think all of it is at once, which is really going to be interesting for all of us to try and figure out our trial schedules and then give the kids the chance to do other. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules are at all. So we'll know soon. We'll know soon enough, and then we'll get it together. So that's the question. When will the gear from the last order arrive? You should be getting that now. It should be arriving at your house. Some of you have already gotten it. If you haven't already gotten it, you should get it before this weekend. I know that our Nike rep said he was getting it in and getting it out. So for whatever that's worth. What's next? What else? Hit me some hard questions. Anything. I'm here. Ask away. You guys are welcome to unmute yourselves and yell at me.
Can you share any additional information with us about the new facility, when it's expected to be up and running?
Yeah, so I'm happy to. I may be jinxing it. There's certain things you're not supposed to talk about, but I don't think that's the case. So for those of you who are familiar with Cobb, landlord does not lease to anybody sporting, no batting cages, no indoor soccer, no anybody. But he was our landlord down in Forest Park with our original facility 10 years ago. And because we paid our bills and because we were not problem tenants, when we came up to Cobb, we were able to get a space with him, which is unheard of. For those of you who are with Jessica, she's like, I've looked for additional space forever. You just couldn't find any. Nobody wanted to be a landlord of a club like ours. Well, because we've been paying our bills and we've been light on that facility and we've, minded our P's and Q's, the space like 2 doors down, Suite E, where all the storage containers are, those people are leaving. And so there's room to put 5 more courts in there, 5 practice courts and another half court for either setting or training or both, weight training, whatever with court. So their lease is up at the end of February. The day they're out, we're going to have a crew come in and put in LED lights, clean the floors, turn one of the break rooms into a ladies' restroom, hopefully with a little shower. And then we're going. We're up and running. So at that point, so somewhere, I hope in the middle of March, we're going to open up 5.5 more courts at our Cobb location. And so all of you guys that are having to go to Kennesaw Park, well, Kennesaw Parks and Rec will keep because it's nice and it's in the right spot and it's good. But McCleskey, for those who are having to go on the sport court, we'll be able to offer them actual, full-size court. So anyway, we'll have to figure out that schedule, but we'll be able to get, instead of some people being at McCleskey and East Cobb Middle, they'll be able to come into our space and practice with us, which will be so much more fun. So much more fun. It'll be nice. The parking lot's gonna be packed. We're gonna have to figure that out, but it's gonna be, 8.5 courts. That's what we'll have. 8 and 2 halves.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand correctly, the new location will be in Cobb County and not near the airport.
It's in the same building. Yes, it's in Cobb County. Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are you a South family?
I am a South. Yeah, we're
Got
South.
it. Yeah. So that location we're moving, but that information is not out yet. That will come soon.
Okay.
Marta's
Got
taking
you.
over our
Okay.
building. So yeah, for those of you at Cobb, we're in the same building. All right.
Okay.
What else?
Okay, good to know.
What else? Who's got a question for me? Let me see if there are any other questions here. Oh, let's start with the grandparents, whatever. Yeah. You're having this one. Like, great. All right, I'm finished. Like I said, you guys can leave at any point. Happy to stick around and answer any questions that you have. I'll stick around for a few more minutes here, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll pause it and put it up. But I'm done. So if you don't have a question for me, it might be good, but you can throw it out there if you have one. Otherwise, good night.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Very much so welcome. Thank you guys for jumping in. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it. Good night, y'all. Email me if you have any questions. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you guys at the gym.